So let's get started. So first of all, thank you everyone for joining us in today. Shivam and I are super excited to take you through Zluri's capabilities and how Zluri can supercharge Okta to provide you unified access management all under one roof. So to get started, last month, the Zluri team was at Octane, which is Okta's annual conference. And there we got a chance to interact with a lot of industry leaders from the IT and security side. And through all of these conversations, we got to learn a lot about what are the different challenges that teams today are facing when it comes to access management. I thought before we kickstart the webinar, I would love to walk you through some of the key pain points that we heard from these industry experts. And then I would love to know if these are some challenges which you all resonate with as well. We have a poll towards the end of the webinar to capture your feedback on this. But to quickly walk you through, some of the key pain points that we heard were, number one, provisioning access is a huge challenge for applications which have no SCIM connectors. It's very manual and clunky for us to do it. On top of it, today, teams have been asking for granular resource level access control for their cloud applications, for their SaaS applications. But this is again another shortcoming that they're facing. It's been pretty manual and tedious for IT teams to manage Okta groups. They are looking for a better solution for access deprovisioning to ensure that the security remains intact, especially when employees are leaving an organization. And finally, another feedback which we've heard is that companies are struggling to manage access for contractors, when they should provision access, when they should especially deprovision access, what resources should they provide access to for contractors. So these were some of the key challenges that we heard about at Octane. And all these conversations really got us thinking on how the access landscape itself has evolved over time. So we've seen that IAM tools, they first started with offering role-based access control. Then they moved to group-based access control. And these changes have taken place, especially as the tech stack has evolved from legacy software to hybrid infra. But today, as we're seeing a rapid rise in the adoption of the cloud and numerous SaaS applications, the existing protocols around group-based access control are falling short of what IT teams need today. So today, each cloud application, it has its own set of roles, resources, permissions, policies, whatnot. And it's really difficult for companies to govern all these access complexities either manually or through the existing protocols like group-based or role-based access control. So first, I would like to walk you through that why is it that group-based access control is falling short of what IT teams are looking for today. So the first big challenge that we've heard about group-based access control is that teams lack resource level access provisioning and deprovisioning with groups. So let me quickly walk you through what exactly I mean by that. So let's assume that in a company, there is a software developers group set up in Okta. This company uses Okta as their IDP, and they have different groups in which they have classified their employees. So we have 4 employees in this company who are part of the software developers group. And once they are in this group, they are provisioned access to Jira. And they're not only provisioned access to Jira, but also all the projects which are within Jira for this company. But of course, not all the employees need access to all of these projects. It's possible that Josh here, he just needs access to project 3 because that's the only one he's working on right now. Or maybe Sarah only needs access to project 2. But today, how group-based access control works is, you can provision access at an application level, but not at a resource or a project level. So ultimately, all the employees in the software developers group will end up getting access to all the projects on Jira, even though they do not require it. So ultimately, what this leads to is several employees in the company would be having unnecessary permissions granted. They have access to a lot more than what they need to perform their job. And this, of course, ultimately lowers the level of security within an organization and opens it up for different data breaches and security threats. This is one of the major challenges of group-based access control today. On top of it, another challenge that we've heard is that managing groups becomes pretty manual and tedious at times. So as an example, if I go back to the same group of 4 employees who are part of the software developers group in Okta, today you can see that all of them, they have been granted the role developer. Now let's assume that one of the employees, his access now needs to be elevated to the admin level. And for one of the other employees, she is moving to product operations now. So in order to get these changes into effect and to provide them access to the new set of tools, documents, and permissions that you would need, companies now need to move them to new groups, new Okta groups. In some cases, they need to set up new Okta groups altogether. So basically, even if there is a change in the access level or the permission level for just one employee in a certain group, you need to create a different group just for that one employee. This again is not scalable because I feel this is something which you can do when there are maybe like a handful of employees in a company. But what happens when there are like hundreds or thousands of employees in an organization? Then the identity and access management team is just spending a large and unnecessary amount of time just unpacking and reassigning groups and permissions, even if there's just one employee whose role or access level has changed. So this again leads to a lot of wastage of time and is a big challenge which teams have shared with us. So now coming to how you can solve these challenges with Zluri plus Okta. So if you supercharge Okta, so basically you need to make no changes in your existing Okta protocols or how you use Okta today. But if you layer Zluri on top of it, you can enable resource level access control and also automate Okta group management. So if I again go back to the same example of 4 employees who are in the software developers group in Okta, now you can actually connect the employees directly to the data that they need access to. So for example, Sam, he only needs access to project 1 because this is the only project that he's been working on. So you can only add him to that specific project on Jira. If Josh and Sarah, both of them need to work on project 3, you can add them to that specific project 3, and so on and so forth. So now you have the flexibility of adding employees to the specific resources that they need access to, and not just the whole blanket application access. In addition to this, we also offer a lot of playbooks and automation triggers through which you can automate Okta group management right through Zluri. So you can add users to different Okta groups, remove them from Okta groups, all through different automation triggers that you have set up in Zluri. On top of it, even if, say, in your HR tool, there is a change that, hey, Josh's department has changed from, say, engineering to product. Once that change is made in the HR tool, Zluri can pick that up directly and run a playbook to modify Josh's Okta group automatically and also assign him the new set of tools and permissions that he needs for his new role. These are some things which we'll be showing you in the demo later on. So, but this is how you can get complete visibility into what are the different resources a user can access. You can right-size the permissions for every employee within your organization and ensure enhanced security for the company. Yes, and now coming to how exactly is it that Zluri is able to enable this versus the challenges that we saw with group-based access control. So the major reason that Zluri is able to do this is because of our patented iPaaS engine. Zluri has direct API integrations with a bunch of applications. And these direct API integrations enable us to perform 2,000 plus workflow actions and go deeper when it comes to access provisioning and deprovisioning. This is not possible today with group-based access control because they are built on a SCIM protocol. And SCIM protocols don't offer the same depth and flexibility as that API connectors do. So now, for example, with Zluri, if there is, say, a new user for whom you need to provision access in, say, an Atlassian, Salesforce, GitHub, etc., you can not only just provision them an account in these applications, but you can also define which projects they get access to, what tickets they get access to, which departments, what permissions, what repositories, so on and so forth. You have a lot of flexibility with the numerous workflow actions that we've built out through our platform. So this will help you eliminate all the busy work of manually managing permissions on each application separately for every employee within your organization. Yes. So far we were covering some of the challenges which are faced with group-based access control today. Now I'm moving on to another challenge that we keep hearing from our customers, from industry experts, which is around skim connectors. So many folks have told us that, hey, for applications which have no skim connectors, it's very difficult for me to provision access through Okta. I manually need to go into each application and add the users and provision them the required access. So as you can see in this diagram on the right, so let's assume that Josh and Sarah have been added to the software developers group, and they need to be provisioned access to Atlassian, Zoom, and a few other applications. Now, apps like Atlassian and Zoom, they already have a skim connector. So as soon as they're added to the software developer Okta group, they will automatically get added to Atlassian and Zoom as well. You don't need to go into those applications separately to provide them access. But for the applications where there is no skim connector present, the respective app admins or the IT teams would have to go into these applications manually and add these users in. So as you can imagine, this makes access provisioning very fragmented. It makes the process very tedious. What Zluri plus Okta helps you do is you can centralize and automate your workforce's access for every application, federated or non-federated, in a single place. So whether the app has a skim connector or it doesn't have a skim connector, you can provision access for all those applications as long as they have an open API available through the Zluri platform itself. You don't need to go into any application separately to provision the access. So how we do this is that for apps which don't have a skim connector, but they have a public API available, Zluri can connect directly with such applications and we can talk to them. And then we can automatically add those users to those applications through our platform. And we also support skim actions via Okta. So you can also get those users added to applications with an existing skim connector through our platform itself. So this is how we consolidate access provisioning for apps, whether they have a skim connector or they don't have a skim connector, through Zluri. Yes. Moving on, one of the other key challenge that many companies face is that today they do not get complete visibility into their SaaS application stack. In many cases, up to 50 to 70% of the SaaS stack is not visible to organizations. And there are multiple reasons for that. One of the key reasons is that in many applications, there is an SSO tax, which is applied because of which companies don't have their apps behind an SSO. So IDPs like Okta, they're not able to detect such applications. But having such shadow apps within your organization, it can lead to many security concerns down the lane. You may have no idea what applications are employees accessing, what are the apps through which they're feeding your company data, etc. So Zluri goes beyond SSOs to give you full visibility into your SaaS stack. We have a bunch of different discovery methods through direct integrations with applications, browser agents, desktop agents, integrations with HR systems, expense systems, so on and so forth, which gives you full visibility into what are the different shadow apps within your organization. We also give you visibility into who has access to those applications, and we can also help you manage and restrict usage for those apps. So again, through Zluri plus Okta, you can then get complete visibility and manage access for all the applications within your organization, whether it is behind the Okta SSO or not. So now, just wrapping up all the different use cases that I walked you all through. So we discussed today that how through the powerful combination of Zluri and Okta, you can get full control over resource level access management. So you can provision access at the project level, you can provision access to different permissions, code repositories, etc., all through Zluri, and not just at the application level. You can also manage access provisioning for applications which don't have a SCIM connector, but have an open API key. And finally, you can also discover, manage, and restrict shadow apps through the Zluri plus Okta combination. So with this, I'll now hand it over to Shivam, who will actually now show you in action what these different use cases look like on the Zluri platform. So yes, Shivam, over to you.
Thanks, Aditi, for the wonderful presentation. I'll continue with my slide. Yeah, I hope my screen is visible. All right. So let's start. First things first, as I'm going to extend the same examples that Aditi mentioned, specific people who are changing their roles, changing their permissions, and how are we going to integrate with Okta and add a layer of Zluri on top of Okta so that you can achieve all of these use cases, right? So we start with first integrating our groups module with Okta, wherein if you select the group's primary source as Okta, we get all the groups with all the users that are present in those particular groups. Now, these can be applications group if you want to, right? As you can see here, we have engineering group, product group, software developers groups, customer success group, and a plethora of these such groups can be detected on Zluri directly. Now, what Zluri today supports is not just limited to viewing these groups on Okta, but also updating, adding, or deleting or removing basically any particular users from these groups directly via Zluri. So if I go to the playbook section, I've already have a bunch of playbooks set up. So if you see, I've got a playbook wherein I've set an action called add user to group in Okta, right? I'm adding a user to, let's say, a product group, right? I've added a playbook wherein I can, let's say, remove a user from particular in Okta group, right? So I can manage which user gets access to which particular Okta group and which they don't, right? Now that brings us to another layer of visibility onto the use case that Aditi mentioned was HRMS addition, right? Now, as a process, if you add a user to HRMS, you can't automatically update this on Okta, right? So you have to add that user to an HRMS. Where Zluri helps you is we automatically detect that this person was added to your HRMS. And by the way, we support more than 15 HRMS across globe, which are important ones are Bamboo HR, HiBob, and etc. So as soon as we detect a person's change in the department via the HRMS, we right away generate an audit log and we let you automate on top of that, right? So here, as an example, this is an automation rule that I've preset. If the user's department changes and it changes from any particular channel to, let's say, product, right? So on top of it, I don't even have to go to the Okta dashboard. Neither Zluri dashboard, actually, if you put it on autopilot. It will automatically remove that particular users from, in this case, engineers group. And after, let's say, a few delay, I can add those users to product group, right? Now, what this does is Okta is gonna provision the access for product group and deprovisioning from engineers group in its own silo, right? But what is it gonna do is only do SCIM level provisioning on these particular application. Where Zluri extends is functionality is, as Aditi mentioned, resource level access control, right, for managed apps. So as you see, I have made a playbook over here. If you see in details, Jira, this not just add user to Jira or remove user from Jira, but it's actually transferring all the issues to this particular person. Let's say I'm an engineer who's being moved into product. Let's say I'm being changing my department to product. So I want to have access to the new projects that I'm going to control or the new tickets that I need to look at, right? And as an engineer or ex-engineer, whatever repositories that I own, I might want to transfer those to my senior developer or my technical lead, right? Similarly, I would want access to new Slack channels as soon as I moved into product department. You can go in depth to these access level control, and not just for these 3 applications, but we provide the same access control for over 150 applications. Now, you can play around with the playbook if you want to, right? it's not, for example, I'll just take, let's say in some organizations, product managers might be using Salesforce, right? For tracking any kind of leads. So as you can see, you can add the user to Salesforce, or even control like which group can they belong to, what permissions do they have. And you can see on the left-hand side, the plethora of actions that we provide. The user alias, division, department, and role, right? I can even set a manager in Salesforce, and this goes around 150 plus applications. So that's where we are trying to show this particular in this particular automation rule, that as soon as this particular user gets access to product group, I'm gonna, like, at a resource level, control what access does this user has. Right now, this covers all the application that has a SCIM connector for Okta, which is Okta can provision access or deprovision access, and we can provide a resource level access control, right? But the last part, another challenge that Aditi mentioned, right? What about the application which has no SCIM connectors available? And these are, by the way, heavily being used as applications like Discourse or the whole Zoho inventory, right? For which we have a certain level of playbooks. As I can show you for an example, I've set up a non-SCIM apps playbook. You see at Zoho or Discourse or even JitPit, I can control what I want from these applications. If I want to activate a user, deactivate a user, what kind of groups do they or asset do they get access to, right? So I can go into that level of access control, even for applications that doesn't support SCIM actions, right? And consolidating all of that part of, right? With that, I transfer the demo to Aditi. Thanks a lot, Aditi.
Thank you, Shivam. I just wanted to call out that if you all have any questions, you all can type it out in the Q&A or chat box, and we'll take them up towards the end of the webinar. I will quickly share my screen and take you through the remaining part of the webinar. So, yes. So I think just to wrap it up, what Shivam had shown you right now. So what we're trying to do is we can help you manage all access under one roof with Zluri plus Okta. And the key capabilities that supercharge Okta are the SCIM++ direct API integrations that Zluri offers. This helps you get resource level access control for your applications. On top of it, we also offer 2,000 plus no-code workflow connectors and actions. And this list is increasing by the day. Our team keeps adding a lot more workflows, actions every day to this list. And the same goes with our integrations as well. We already have 800 plus direct API first integrations. And this list again keeps expanding day by day. We also build out custom integrations, custom workflow actions based on the requests of our customers. So that again is something that we take up to further build out our library. And as you can see, I'll just quickly walk you through this table to show you what all is it that you get through Zluri plus Okta versus just Okta. So of course, SCIM-based identity management is something you can do with both Okta and with Zluri plus Okta. In addition to that, group-based provisioning, deprovisioning, again, is something which not just Okta, but also Zluri plus Okta offers. But where Zluri plus Okta gives you an edge is when it comes to resource-level access control. Access control for non-federated or applications which don't have a SCIM connector. We also offer you deeper license-level control for applications. We also offer API-based user management. So while Okta offers you SCIM-based user management, we are offering you API-based management, which gives you a lot more depth and flexibility on the kind of actions and resources that you can provision for your employees. On top of it, we also offer you zero-touch HRMS custom automations, just how Shivam showed you in the demo right now. And we have extended integrations with ITSM for manual workflows too. Yes. Just moving on. Yes, so we finally wanted to end with a poll question because we would love to get some feedback from all of you all as well on what is the biggest access management challenge that y'all are facing today. So let me just quickly launch the poll. Second. Yes, I have just launched the poll. Let me know in case you all can't see it, but we would love to get your feedback on what is the biggest access management challenge that y'all are facing today. I'll keep it up for maybe like 20-30 seconds more. Y'all can fill in your answers. And if you feel the challenge that y'all are facing today is not reflected in any of these options, y'all can just put it in the chat or the Q&A box as well. Okay, great. So I think while folks are still filling up the poll, we had a couple of questions which came in. So we can take that up. Shivam, would be super helpful if you could help take up some of those questions. They are slightly technical. So one is, does Zluri have any plan to integrate with ADP?
Yeah, sure. So ADP has been a constant request from our customers who use ADP. There are directly APIs that are available that we can integrate with and work to have workflow actions as well, direct API based actions. Yes, so if we can work together with ADP account, we can surely include that particular in the roadmap as soon as possible. And it is not just for ADP, but any list of applications that you think we can integrate with, and you need access, you need a deeper level control and automated control on. Zluri can work with you and help you with those particular integrations as
well. Great. One other question which we've got is, what if an application doesn't provide any API, Skim or Direct? Can I create tasks on Jira for them?
Right. I think that's an interesting question, right? So not APIs being available to any particular application is very subjective, right? So a lot of applications still don't provide any particular APIs, wherein we have our manual workflows that kick in, right? So you don't now have to manually track these via Slack messages or any particular random Jira ticket, while you can still decentrally manage it at a global playbook level, that you can create a manual workflow. Even you can create a manual task either as an email or as a task to go on a Slack, or even we've recently released in our private beta feature for Jira as well. So you can integrate with Jira, you can create Jira tasks, and all of these tasks can be directly managed with Zluri.
Got it. We have one final question. So the last question that we have is, can we provision and deprovision permission level licenses?
Yeah. So as we see it, right? So now permission level licenses are very subjected to each and every application, right? Certain licenses are based out of the access you have, of the permission level access you have for the application, and certain are just based on usage, right? As long as we have the access of fetching all of these licenses and updating these, yes, we can. So for example, Google Workspace, right? In Google Workspace, you don't just have selected licenses like license 1, license 2, license 3 that Google Workspace decide. You can even make custom licenses in Google Workspace. You can still manage even those custom licenses that you made in Google Workspace via Zluri, and that this functionality extends to other applications as well.
Got it. One second. Yes, sorry. I think, yes, those were mainly the questions that we had. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in today for this webinar. We would love to keep getting your feedback on what is it that you're looking for from Zluri? Where is it exactly that we can help you out? What more can we build out? And we'd especially love to get your feedback on this presentation as well. And if the challenges which we spoke about today, if this is something that resonates with you, if you all have any more questions, feel free to write to us. Yes, but that's about it. Thank you so much for joining us in.
Thank you so much, everyone.